Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Smith family doing okay here. Noah, my last video I did, I had in the comment section, I had someone that was curious about coal mining. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you a little story about coal mining. And for those that are interested in hearing some of these stories, just leave some comments and I'll go back to the beginning. But we're not going to start at the beginning today. I'm going to tell you about my first union job, working in the coal mines underground. And here we go. This was in the year of, I think, the last part of 1978, if I remember correctly. I applied for a job at a local mines that was fairly new. It'd been up and running, I think, for a couple of years, maybe something like that. Now, this was a shaft mine. And if you don't know what a shaft mine is, that's a mine that goes straight down. In this case, here it was several hundred feet. I think a little over 200 feet straight down. And to a seam of coal. And at this point in time, my memory's not good enough to tell you which seam it was at that time. But anyway, I applied for the job there. And with my work history, I was pretty well instantly accepted. But the great part about this job was I was excited because it was a union job and I was going to get benefits, health care, retirement. It was the dream job at that time for me, for a young man. I was around 23, 24-year-old, maybe, something like that. So that's a turning point in my life. So I started to work there as general labor. And with general labor, it means you work outside and down, and also inside, down in the shaft. I really liked that part. I thought that would be entertaining. That way I wouldn't have a boring job with doing the same thing daily. And with that process, started out working outside, doing cleanup, one thing or another, run different pieces of equipment, which I was used to running anyway, inloaders and dozers and things of that nature. Bringing supplies to the elevator and sending them down. And I enjoyed it. It was a good job. And then the pay was, for me, a young man, was very good. And that went on for a few months. And I ran into a friend of mine. I don't know why we hadn't crossed ours paths sooner, but we did. We didn't. At that time, I was working evening shift. And this guy happened to be part of the supervisors of the complete mine foreman. So he was evening shift mine foreman. And he said, asked me what I was doing. I told him. He said, "Oh, you need a better job than that." I said, "Well, I'm happy with what I'm at." He said, "Yeah, but I want to take care of you." So he sends me, puts me on a section. In this case, what they call a double barrel section, which consists of 2 miners and 4 shuttle cars. He says, "You're going to be my float out man, since you can operate just about anything. That way, if we have a person not on the job, you can take their place, whether on medical leave or whatever the reason, whether or not there." I said to myself, "Well, that sounds pretty interesting. It means I won't be stuck doing one single thing." So I ended up on a section. And I was a scoop operator doing cleanup when they got finished bolting the top. What I mean by bolting, and a roof bolter, they drill holes and put a long shaft bolt And in this case, sure, there's anywhere from 4 to 6 foot. It depends. Now, keep in mind now, this semi-cold we was in, they still haven't got in what they call high top. We're still working in 40 to about 44-inch coal, low top. But that's okay. I didn't mind because I was running equipment and so forth. And so I was running a scoop, cleaning up the headings, and putting curtains up. With curtains means that's for the ventilation to control the airflow. It being a shaft mine, you have to keep airflow in motion so gas won't build up. And you hang these gas monitors up to check on while you're working. And each heading had a gas monitor to make sure there was no buildup when there was no equipment in there. The only time there's equipment is when the miner comes in and digs out roughly about 20 feet. And about, I can't remember the exact width, I think around 18 feet, something like that. But anyway, that's what my job was. I just go in and I clean up and rock dust the area and hang the curtains. And that was a good job. I enjoyed it. And put supplies on the bolt machine, which means bolt glue, and in this case they use resin glue and bolts on the bolter. So the men running the bolter machine would have supplies. I'd do that. So I was constantly busy, and then also I'd end up shoveling the tailpieces, they call it, with the feeder. Clean that up. So constantly doing something. You know, 8-hour shift went by pretty quick. And then it got to the point, every time I get ready to come out for the end of the shift, the supervisor would say, well, I need you to go back down. So I ended up doing double shifts, which I didn't mind. I mean, more pay. And so I ended up, the boss on the section, he said, I've got a guy that quit. He said, I need you to put you on a shuttle car, or we always call them buggies, but they're a shuttle car. They're low vane buggy. And they're electric cable operated. So here I was stuck on a piece of equipment. And I was on what they call the offside. Now the offside is actually the left-hand side of the buggy. And see, the miner operator sits on the right side of the equipment. So you're actually sitting away from the miner operator. So it was difficult to see what was going on. So you had to be very careful. You could hurt somebody. But anyway, I got really good at operating that piece of equipment. And for a long time, I don't know when it was broken, but if it was broken, that I held a record for the number of cars of coal for a single car of coal done on one shift. And I was kind of proud of that. And and a lot of times I would put my lunchbox on the buggy, and I would kind of eat and drive at the same time, because the miner operator would do that. Now, we're supposed to get an hour for lunch, but in order to keep production up, we kind of overlooked that. Wasn't supposed to, according to union rules. We were supposed to take our break, but we didn't. Our section, we run coal during that time. And then as time went, a lot of times I would end up running the miner. That was interesting. They noticed, run that piece of equipment and, pushing it forward. the big rotating head on it, digging that coal. It was pretty neat, you know. Then there were times I ended up helping the boater operator. I'd be bolting top, and it was a Lenore double header. So you go in, and the operator was a classmate of mine that I graduated school with, and he was surprised that I could keep up with him. Because he'd been doing this for a long time, and he was good at his job, very good. But I could keep up with him, and he said he's have had a lot of helpers running the other side. He said most of the time he had to wait on them. He said, we can go in and get out and get this done. So bolting top was actually very gruesome work, especially in low top. That's another thing, guys. If you don't understand working underground, now I was 200 foot down underneath a mountain, and going back at that time, I can't remember how many miles it was, but it was several miles at 200 foot down, going back into the coal seam. And see, at that time, the way it was set up, the sections were driving forward to get set up for what they call a long wall. Now, I never got to be there during the long wall operation, so I can't tell you about it. But anyway, I was on a double barrel section, and there was another double barrel section on the other side of the mines underground. So we was kind of in a competition, trying to see who could produce the most coal in one shift. So it was entertaining, you know. I worked for a lot of good people. But anyway, that went on for a little over a year, and one night we had to prepare, because our section was the same section that the main belt line was on, and we had to prepare a heading high enough roof for that main belt line to be brought forward towards the face, and which consisted of us taking a miner and raising the head up and making the top about 8 foot high. So we'd have enough room for that belt line. Yeah, it might not have been quite 8 foot, but it was high, because I couldn't reach it flat-footed. So I guess it's probably 7 foot, maybe something like that. Anyway, we was driving it forward, and we had to take roof bolts out, and a couple rows at a time to, because the main belt line, when they drove up, they used conventional bolts, which consist of plates and a header board that's a flat piece of wood, and the bolts were actually, it wasn't glued, there was actually with the expansion nut on the one end of it that you pushed up and then you tightened it up, and it held the top by compression. And we was busy taking those bolts out and getting ready to bring the top down to where we can make space to bring it the main belt line tailpiece forward. So I was working. This was January 1980, and I was taking my tool and loosening the bolt up, and the boss was standing beside of me there, and we was talking, you know, having a conversation while we were working. And as I was taking that bolt out, I just got it loosened up, and a piece of shell rock, about the size of a coffee table maybe, and about 3 inches thick, something like that. It came down and it landed directly across the bottom part of my back. I hit the ground, and the boss's side of me, it actually hit his elbow, and it actually broke his arm. And the next thing I did, I woke up in a hospital. That's a story of a different time. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed that, let me know. And I've got more stories I can tell about earlier times if you'd like to hear those. Uh, Working on strip jobs and coal loadout ramps, things of that nature. If you want to hear those stories, just leave me the comments and I'll try to put some of them together for you. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Everybody take care, and if you're out and about, don't forget to smile and live long and prosper.